What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the top 5 most broken builds in POE Exile 3.27. This new update has completely changed the meta with the word overhaul, the new transfigured gems, and a ton of ascendancies and balance changes. That has made some builds absolutely broken. So today I will break down each build, how it works, why it's dominating this patch, and how can you put it together for yourself. On top of it, if you're looking for any of these builds on the website for their POE building, then check my links in the description. And before we continue, thanks to U4GM, they are a pro website that provides POE Exile services like cheap currency, then even to trade all types of top quality items and mirrors and much more. They also have more than 20,000 positive comments on Trustpilot, and this website is really worth a try. So make sure to use my discount code KATE for extra 6% off. So, first up we go to Kinetic Rain Herald Stacker build, which is a completely busted elementalist setup that is so overtuned that it probably won't ever survive the next patch. On paper it looks insane, with over 20 million DPS, 12,000 physical hit cap, and 40,000 elemental hit cap, as well as permanent 24% chill, full elemental immunity, and the energy shield over leech. What makes it so broken is how the two systems will stack together. The farewell to the flesh bloodline node, giving your herald 2% more effect for 1% mana reserved. In Kinetic Rain, the new wand skill that double overlaps projectiles for insane single target bursts. With nearly 90% mana reserved between the Herald of Thunder and Herald of Ice, this is almost double the damage buffs for both. Early on, we will throw the Herald into the Honor Home helmet and then stack Empower and Elemental Focus to pump their reservation, and then link Essence Worm for even more scaling. And from there, it's all about stacking the Herald effects, so Tattoos, Cluster Jevels, and the Corrupted Gear, all feeding into one ridiculous loop of cell buffing power. Defensively, the build stacks Energy Shield and Life, using the classic Ghost Dance over Leech trick to sustain both pulls indefinitely. Add in the permanent chill and the purity of elements for the element immunity, and you're practically immortal. The Elementalist Ascendancy will tie all of this together, the Bringer of the Ruin for the Herald scaling, Shaper of the Storms for guaranteed shocks, and Golem buffs for accuracy and AoV. Gear-wise we have nothing fancy, so cheap uniques like the Honor Home, Essence Worm, and the Hunger Chest will carry the build easily. And then our gameplay is super smooth. We shield charge through the packs, then rain projectiles, and watch entire screens shatter in a synchronized Herald explosions. Next up we have the Dex Stacker Cyclone build, which is a spinning storm of destruction built around raw dexterity scaling and insane speed. What starts as a humble axe-wielding bleed gladiator will evolve into a full-fledged dexterity monster, powered by one with nothing and the hollow palm technique. Early leveling is smooth and methodical, so you will use splitting steel and the crafted physical axes through the vendor recipes, focusing on flat physical, attack speed and life. And by the time that we hit maps, we are farming currency while prepping for the big transformation to the dex swap. Once you equip one with nothing, the entire playstyle will shift. We will ditch our weapons and scale hundreds, even thousands of dexterity, and let the hollow palm do the heavy lifting. Every point of dexterity is raw damage, attack speed and evasion. This build turns Cyclone into a lightning fast blender that clears entire screens in seconds. We can pair this with Devoto's Devotion for even more speed, and Purity of Elements for the full element immunity, and we've got one of the smoothest and fast league starters in the game. And then defensively, it's all about stacking effects, like high evasion, life, block from the Gladiator or the Slayer's Ascendancy, and very powerful flask uptime. Overleech, Fortify, and Endurance Charge tech from the Raquel's Impatience will keep you alive even in the higher tier maps. And because we are scaling pure dexterity, gearing is both flexible and cheap early, so rare armor, rings, and the cluster jevels will add consistency, while late game options like the Ashamantis, the Brutal Wrist Chain, and Ornn's Anguish will push it into insane levels. Then next we have the Dex Stacker Venom gyre build, which is a high-speed, high-scaling projectile assassin that thrives on stacking dexterity to boost both its damage and defenses. This setup combines the poison-based nature of the Venom gyre with insane attack speed and mobility, creating a build that melts packs in seconds while flying across the screen. Early on we will level with the Cobra Lash, since it feels smoother before you unlock the chain and the extra projectiles for our ascendancy. And then around the third lab, once the Venom gyre takes over, it becomes becomes one of the most satisfying melee projectile hybrids in POE of Exile that blends screen wide clear with a deadly single target damage. Then in terms of gearing, the core revolves around dexterity scaling items like Ascendancy and dexterity stacking armor, which transforms every point of dexterity into raw power. Even if the classic breach class will end up rare or expensive, then the elemental damage version of the build still comfortably will handle tier 16 content. However, the real strength of the Venom gyre will lie in its flexibility. No matter if you go dexterity, intelligence or even ward stacking, each version has a powerful endgame potential. For farming, this build will shine in a high pack density content like Legion, the Harmbringer and the Strong Boxes. Early strategy will focus on farming Legion for the currency and potentially transitioning into the Breach, or even tier 17 maps once you secure key items. And then defensively, the build relies on evasion, spell suppression, and stacking mitigation through the flask uptime, while mobility skills like the whirling blades or the dash will keep you consistently repositioning. So overall, the deck stacker Venom gyre build will deliver top tier clear speed, great map efficiency and a smooth progression from early acts to the late game. Then next, the Flicker Strike Frostblade build is back and stronger than ever for 3.27, thriving in a league that rewards speed, aggression and relentless combat. This build embraces the chaos with the Flicker Strike's unpredictable teleportation, by turning every map into a flashing blur of death, with the reworked breach mechanics and the new bloodline ascendancies. The Flicker finally has power it deserves. The champion's ascendancy will bring unmatched fortify stacking, by combining offense and defense into a single unstoppable force, which is a perfect fit for a constant motion and a high-risk nature of the Flicker Strike. The build's identity will revolve around the attack speed and fortification, using uniques like the Beacon of the Madness for double damage potential and Perseverance for a blend of armor and evasion. The champion will gain enormous defensive layers, while ramping up DPS to insane levels. Then Unstoppable Hero will grant massive attack speed scaling per fortify stack, and Master of Metal will add flat damage and impale bonuses for devastating burst potential. Together, they make this build feel like a storm of steel, so fast, fluid and unkillable. Then leveling will start simple with Southern or other early melee skills, before transitioning into the Flicker Strike, once the Frenzy Charge generation becomes consistent through the Terminus and etc. From there, the build blossoms into a screen clearing monster, capable of melting endgame bosses and league mechanics alike. The gear upgrades will focus on stacking fortification, attack speed and flat physical damage, while experimenting with new unique crafting options that are introduced in this league. Overall, in the endgame, the Flicker Strike Frostblade champion build will embody everything exciting about POE of Exile. So explosive mobility, big damage and near limitless scaling. With the new ascendancies, craftable uniques and synchronized trading in 3.27, this build has the perfect stage to dominate. And then for the last one, we got the Hybrid Crit Kinetic Blast build, which is a lightning fast hybrid setup that works with both the Wanderer and the Deadeye, and is built around the raw projectile mayhem and screen clearing power. It's designed as a league starter that scales beautifully into the endgame. It combines Kinetic Blast for unparalleled map clear, with optional Kinetic Rain or Kinetic Bolt setups for focused boss mechanics. Even on a low budget, this character will absolutely fly through content, exploding packs instantly and thriving in mechanics like the Legion, Breach and the Strong Boxes. We choose Deadeye over the other ascendancies for one simple reason: the clear speed. The extra projectiles and the tailwind action speed will make it the fastest version of the Wanderer archetype by far. While Elementalist or the Inquisitor variants can offer more tankiness, the Deadeye dominates in mobility and efficiency. It's perfect for mapping and juiced maps. The downside, however, is that it starts out squishy, but investment into the energy shield or evasion/hybrid gear, it can become surprisingly sturdy. The gameplay is smooth and responsive. We zip around with the shield charge and the frost blink, obliterating enemies with explosions that chain across the screen. The Hydrosphere and Tornado setups will amplify your single target, while Sniper's Mark and Trinity ensures huge crit scaling and elemental penetration. Gear progression is also simple early on. Any wand with a flat damage, attack speed and crit chance will work, but then high-end setups will introduce options like Eclipse Solaris, light radio stacking and cluster javel scaling, with the Storm Drinker for the energy shield sustain. And then, as we move into the endgame, the build will offer flexible routes, so light radio stacking for massive flat damage, cluster setups for critical scaling, or even a ward and swap if extra single target damage is needed for tier 17 bosses. Overall, this build is fast, flashy, and devastatingly efficient.